Hey Libra, I'm doing something different this time for winter solstice, and I'm pulling out decks that I use for personal readings. These are from an Aboriginal healer in Australia named Mel Brown, and I went looking for exactly the right I was hoping that exactly the right Aboriginal decks would exist, or a deck would exist that I could use. I live in Manitoba. I live on Anishinaabe land. And beadwork is heavily involved in the areas where I live, and so it's amazing to me to find so much bead motif in these cards. I'm waiting on the fourth deck, the Aboriginal Spirit deck, to arrive, but I've had these for months, and it's part of, I went on searches, very specific searches for several different kinds of decks from around the world, because I have experienced God, Mother, the Divine Feminine, not, well, that would be human energy, wouldn't it? But let's say Mother Earth, or God as female. I've experienced her in several different ways, or I've experienced working with several different divine people. So I have African, I work with Kali. I keep Kali on the table here or around my neck. She's appeared to me in my home. But so to get on with it, because I realize I don't want to take up too much time in the intro, I'll take a card from the chakra deck. We'll take a card from the healing oracle, which deals with past, present, or future. So whichever card we take will tell us whether we're dealing with what time frame for energy. And then a Dreamtime Oracle, which is where these are based on stories that Mel has been told in her dreams from her ancestral guides. And then we'll get right into Tarot. I'm going to pull these cards first. I'm going to lay them up against the wall, and then we'll get into Tarot, and then I'll read the meanings for these cards and see how it all ties together. All right, so for Libra, in winter, geez, okay. Not the first time Eros has popped out in these readings. Very strongly there. Green chakra, heart chakra. Okay. So is this dealing with past, present, or future? This particular deck is not quick to speak tonight. I'm gonna check it, but I'm gonna put it back in. Intuition, kangaroo. Keep an eye out for intuition. Sticking like crazy, but not this. It's only because it's not the deck. It's the energy. Platypus, privacy. Cherry, Ballard, courage. Okay, so this is a past energy card. So we're going to deal with the past and we're dealing with the present. So we have green, right? So more heart chakra energy here. And then the present energy of privacy. And not forgetting that there was that intuition card. Kangaroo. And I'll just that would be more present energy. So we're not worried about the future right now, Libra. Although, of course, this all leads to the future. All right. Dreamtime Oracle. Earth Mother again. Okay. Okay, just had her for Scorpio in a very heavy read. Very important read. Earth Mother again. Okay. And more green energy. So lots of hard work right now. Lots of hard work right now, Libra. So I want to give these a bit of a shuffle. Oh, when is there? Well, no, it's not all. Who had Sagittarius needed to dig into the swords energy a bit, had no swords energy in their read whatsoever, which meant, of course, that some swords energy is required. Sought after, must be sought after in order to balance out. So, but for you, let's see where we start with the tarot story. Libra. Okay. Kind of a wow. Wow. So, divine timing. Divine timing. Now, this could be to do with things around a relationship. It might not necessarily be a partnership in itself. We know that the Lover's card represents several different things, including ethics and knowledge. In other decks, this deck gives it a very literal interpretation, which I can appreciate at times, but I don't want to be ignorant of, or I don't want to be forgetful of what the other versions of the card mean, because there isn't another card to signify them. It's a 6, which I count as gifts from God, from the universe, in order to make transformations possible. So, what is the story then? Is it very complicated right now? She comes out again. Why am I not surprised? She came out for Scorpio. Same as Earth Mother. So she's making a very strong statement right now. To you in Scorpio at least. And here she is in the reverse. Something is not known. Something is missing, and it must be found. A transformation, yes. Transformation, exactly, of knowledge, in communication, in communicating style, thinking, transformation in thinking. But 7s, as far as I'm concerned, are transformations, and they follow the 6 of the gift that proves that you're on the right track. Okay, so something, yep. Justice is more High Priestess energy as far as I'm concerned. In this deck, it's an 8. It changed places in this deck as it does in some with the Strength card. But I see her as High Priestess energy, appearing, like remanifesting, reincarnating into, you know, the action on what's right and wrong. Yes, this is her knowing and, you know, private communications. Her most isolated self. This is her getting involved. And she holds the sword of truth. Yes. So really, I think that is quite straightforward. And it's just down to getting, and because we have 2 cards here, I'm just going to get straight into reading what these are. Since we have Eros right here. I just finished reading a C.S. Lewis novel about Eros and Psyche, Cupid and Psyche. And it's called Till We Have Faces. And I've had my issues with C.S. Lewis in the past, but this book resolved many of them for me. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Eros is the Greek god of love. Born the son of Aphrodite, Venus, he's considered to be the most beautiful and youngest of all the Greek gods. He's depicted as a young winged boy holding a bow and arrow in his hand and is often represented as Cupid. Eros fell in love with Psyche, and because he was so beautiful, he insisted that she would never look upon him for her own safety, and therefore would only meet in the darkness of night. After much pressure from her family, who did not believe her story of his beauty, Psyche tricked Eros by lighting a lamp. As she saw his beauty, she began to tremble, and as she did, hot oil from the lamp fell on Eros and burned him. In physical and emotional pain, he flew away, wondering why she had doubted him. Aphrodite seeks revenge on Psyche. However, as Eros heals from his wounds, he returns to Psyche to rescue her from his mother. They then marry and live out their lives together. And what's interesting is that Eros' mother, Aphrodite, is Venus. And of course, Libra, you are ruled by Venus. Like Eros, your commitment to your family and friends whom you love is overwhelming. Well, isn't that true, Libra? You give your all and never think twice about the energy you put into your relationships, as you're very satisfied by how it makes you feel and are much. Camera cut out. Give your loved one a moment and a bit of space to get back on their feet, and everything will return to normal, just as you like it. Well, we have a loved one here. I believe this card came out for Aquarius. So whether it's you going through the transformation, Libra, or the other, maybe you both are. Let's keep taking. Cherry, courage. And that they're speaking of the past, and this is definitely the past. Cherry ballot medicine brings courage and hope to those who are optimistic. Positivity is not always welcomed by others, particularly if they themselves are hurting. For some, the sheer sense of hope only highlights the fact they are in despair and further exasperates the situation, adding to their feelings of hopelessness. When you express your hopefulness, others may be too scared to feel the same way. While enthusiasm can be contagious, it can sometimes be destructive, particularly for those who are not in the same position and are fearful of being hurt even more if the promises of sunshine and rainbows don't come to fruition. Optimism from others was gravely lacking. The hope you tried to generate only increased the fear in others and highlighted the fact that the situation had become unmanageable. The small amount of control they possessed was better than none. So, what we have from that is that toxicity for you from them, depending on how much you need your own hope and optimism, which don't you tremendously. So something is incongruent between you and the other. For sure, because this transformation needs to happen. Until this transformation happens in knowing, communicating, but knowing primarily, right? Because what we know affects how we communicate. And this could be career. But until that happens, then there's this, and what's happening is it might be a very painful experience right now, but it's being made to happen. It's being offered, shall we say. I can say that much from these major arcana, that it is being facilitated. Now we know that things can be facilitated and turned down, right? Like this isn't a major arcana. And we know that people have to be given so many tries, and we know exactly, God knows exactly when they will do it and how many false starts they need, right? So this might be another false start, but it is on schedule. And so you play a part in that, and it's either for you or, well, everything affects you no matter what. It's either your transformation and it's being facilitated for you, and it's going to work, or it's another signal to you and you're going to turn it down this time. Or it's the other person's, and they're letting you know so that you can practice temperance, or understand that at least it's nothing that you've done, or they, it's scheduled. It was always going to happen. So for the present energy of privacy, platypus. The platypus is a unique creature unlike any other animal in the world. On the surface, platypus resembles a combination of a duck, a beaver, and an otter. But when time is taken to really see him, platypus is something quite different. Platypus is elusive and not often seen in his natural habitat, unless you should accidentally stumble upon him. Platypus makes his home in burrows deep within the riverbank and raises his babies in the safety of his home. As cuddly as these creatures seem, they have venom-producing spurs that can be lethal to other animals and excruciatingly painful to humans. Their looks can easily deceive others into believing they are harmless and non-threatening, but get too close and you'll bear the consequences. Keep a low profile right now. Don't be the topic of conversation, as others are feeling scared and threatened and will clutch at anything to justify how they are feeling. Wow. If that doesn't have everything to do with the level of your optimism versus the level of their optimism. These two cards couldn't be more in sync with each other. The others don't understand the situation and see it differently to what it actually is. People are very emotional and overreacting to the situation in a way that you cannot understand. This situation is not that bad, but everyone thinks it is. They have no other way to deal with their emotions than to place the blame on someone else and make them responsible, at least in their eyes. Someone will be held accountable. They're actively seeking a scapegoat. Don't let it be you. Now, presuming that you could be you in the relationship, or the relationship could be the you, if there are outside forces at work on the relationship, And for sure, if somebody's going through a transformation, they're going to be under attack. Earth Mother. Which is, as I pointed out to Scorpio, is on page 26, which is an 8 for strength. Before the dream time existed, the world was dark and cold. The plants were small and barely grew in the damp, dark soil. The few animals that existed burrowed underground where they could huddle together for warmth. One day a lizard, who was so tired of always being cold, ventured above ground to look for a warmer place to live. He walked for days and days, then stumbled upon a small yellow flower that had somehow managed to thrive in the dark, cold conditions. The lizard had never seen a flower before and was so amazed at its color and beauty that he sat staring at it for days. For days he wished and wished that the other animals who lived beneath the ground could see the beauty of the flower. After days of watching the flower, he became so exhausted he fell asleep. Whilst the lizard slept, a feeling of warmth began to generate throughout his body, and when he opened his eyes, the darkness he had always known had disappeared. The world was warm and bright, and all around him he could see everything so clearly. The lizard looked up toward the bright blue sky and found the source of the warmth and light. The sun had been born. This is a time when things are feeling dark and ominous. But again, Mother Earth is dark. Don't fear the dark. I don't fear the dark. It takes dark and light to make a picture. Because dawn always follows close behind. And you can get burnt by the sun, can't you? Your darkness is about to end. Prepare yourself for seeing things in the new light of a new day. Each dawn is the opportunity to begin again. So what wonderful things are you going to create? So if they're saying keep a low profile right now, because justice is being served, maybe that, and this High Priestess in reverse echoes the low profile. And this transformation of communication, of knowledge, yes, this could be your transformation of what you're creating. So take the time to create. And this Lover's card could have everything to do with knowledge. But there is an other, because we have Justice here, the House of Partnerships as well. And we have so much green chakra, so much green, so much heart chakra here, which I realize isn't just for one relationship, but all major relationships. But it could be different situations for different Libras. Yes? Wow. Okay, very powerful read, Libra. And I am looking forward to seeing what will come of it in the next couple of weeks. Until then, much love.